What is Brotherhood? The relationship between brothers. And in One Piece, it's different from any other show because these three kids go from strangers to brothers, all wanting to chase their dreams but willing to throw it away for their sworn-in brothers. And I'm gonna convince you why One Piece showcases Brotherhood the best out of any anime. Not a lot of animes have the Brotherhood component in their stories. Some animes that do is Naruto, Full Metal Alchemist, and Attack on Titan. For Naruto, we have Itachi and Sasuke, and the anti-hero dynamic of Itachi, making his brother think that he killed his family for no reason, but it was for his village and his brother at the same time. And right now, I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist, and the Brotherhood there is pretty good, but I haven't finished it yet, so I can't say for sure that it's on the level of One Piece, but I think it's actually pretty close. As for Attack on Titan, there's a type of weird Brotherhood dynamic. Their brother gets revealed later on in the story, and they're not very close. Eren manipulates Zeke. They don't actually love each other. Maybe Zeke does, but Eren not so much. And the story of Brotherhood in One Piece was revealed during the Marineford arc when Ace was captured and about to be executed. And it was the perfect time to reveal this. It was in the middle climax of One Piece, is most likely going to be the second biggest arc in One Piece. And it deals with the main character, Luffy, his closest person to him, Ace, and it brings development to Luffy, and it starts to bring to the watcher's mind, what if Ace survived? You could branch off from this moment how the story would unravel if Ace was alive for the rest of One Piece. Because you have Ace trying to make Whitebeard the Pirate King, while Whitebeard actually wants Ace to become the Pirate King, and then we have Luffy, who also, his biggest dream is to become the Pirate King. So all three of their ideologies were going to clash if Whitebeard and Ace hadn't died in the Marineford arc. And this brotherhood between Luffy, Ace, and Sabo, not being related by blood, makes it even better. And how it makes it better is to us viewers. They aren't actually related by blood. They are not actually family. So it's a little bit different. They could betray each other and not see too much problem with it. But that's not the type of people Luffy, Sabo, and Ace are. Personally, for me, Ace is my favorite character, as you can see with the profile picture, because his ambitions and his goals resonates with me. And his ending of his character is absolutely peak. It sends the story into another realm of greatness. And this brotherhood is made among three people, but Oda kind of separates Sabo to make him a little less close to Ace and Luffy, and he focuses in on the relationship of Ace and Luffy for the first half of One Piece. And now that Ace has died, it is now focused on Sabo and Luffy and how they're going to make it up to Ace. And Oda separates Sabo, with Sabo not having that much of a connection with Garp. I only recall them meeting one time when Garp came and beat them all up, and he also beat Sabo up. So maybe Garp considers Sabo as one of his grandchildren, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't, because Sabo shortly after had his presumed death on the boat when he went to become a pirate at the age of like 8 or 9. So Garp only had met him once, so he probably wouldn't consider him his grandson. And also, like I said earlier, with Sabo supposedly dying when he was a child, Luffy and Ace grew up with each other way longer than they spent with Sabo. So they are still brothers, but the familiarity with Luffy and Ace is way larger. And this backstory shown in the Marineford arc, it really shows that innocent minds cause the most loyalty. At first, these three kids, they didn't like each other. Ace and Sabo were already friends, and they almost ended up killing Luffy, which I don't think was actually gonna happen. It was more of a comedic effect to show how far they've come. But once those three kids started to resonate with each other and they made that truce with Sake to become sworn-in brothers, they never looked back. They would do anything for their brothers, no matter what. And we can see this through Luffy's reaction to Ace's death. They were about to get away, Luffy and Ace, and shortly after, they would figure out that Sabo is still alive, bringing the three brothers together. But Oda put an end to this when Ace sacrificed himself for Luffy, because Ace is the one who caused this to happen by turning his back to fight Akainu once again when Akainu insulted Whitebeard. And what I want to focus in on is Luffy's reaction to Ace's death. He was in a state of shock. He couldn't move, and he had to get carried away by Jinbei. And for the next day, he never moved. He passed out. He lost consciousness because he had lost his brother and he couldn't process it. And that's where he got his scar from Akainu, who punched a hole through Jinbei while Jinbei was carrying the unconscious body of Luffy. But luckily, Luffy had friends with Law and Shanks and was able to escape. But then we see shortly after, when Luffy wakes up on Law's boat, he looks like a serial killer. He is freaking out. He's asking, where is Ace? Where is Ace? He literally ends up breaking Law's ship and goes insane, starts throwing rocks and is freaking out. And at this point, he should not be moving. He was close to death, but somehow he has this type of energy, and it's because of his loyalty for his brother. And if Luffy hadn't formed these relationships with his friends earlier on, who ended up saving him at Marineford, like Jinbei and Law, Luffy most likely would have given up. Jinbei had to punch him to his senses and told him that he still had his crew members. At that point, Luffy wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about how he can get Ace back and where was Ace. And if no one was there for him, he probably would have went right back to Marineford and looked for Akainu and attempt to avenge Ace's death and give up on his dream of becoming the Pirate King. It would really be a sad demise to the story, but the thing is, that's not how those three brothers lived. Because of how those three brothers lived on that island 15 or so years ago, they became magnets to everyone. Everyone wanted to be their friends, and when they were in dark times, those friends would help bring them out of it. And we see once again how much Luffy cares about his brothers is when Sabo returns in Dressrosa. When Sabo's wearing a mask, Luffy takes no mind. He treats him as any other person. When Sabo takes his mask off, Luffy has to take a second to process because he presumed that this brother was dead for years. And once he realized, he broke out in tears. For this moment, he wouldn't go into shock because his brother isn't dying, but he's actually getting a brother back, which was a great part of One Piece. And now we have the brother dynamic once again. And something Oda did with this when he reintroduced Sabo is a what if chapter. And the what if chapter revolved around, what if Sabo regained his memories that Luffy and Ace were his brothers while he was in the Revolutionary Army before Marineford? And what ended up happening in this what if chapter, the last second Sabo steps in and grabs his two brothers and they're once again reunited. You know, I really would have loved to see that happen, to keep that three-person brotherhood still in the story, but at the same time, that three-person brotherhood is still in the story. They are living on for Ace, and now Luffy is way ahead than he was back then. Luffy was naive, he did anything without caring about death. He still does that, but now he's stronger physically, and I would like to think more so mentally. And we see after Marineford, he goes through this slow progress of accepting Ace's death. You can see him when he gets mad whenever Ace is mentioned, or sad, or starts crying. But we see when Ace is reintroduced in Wano and giving a backstory with Yamato and all these other characters on Wano, Luffy starts to accept it more. And by Egghead, when they're trying to name the robot on Egghead different names to try to get it to activate, he calls him Ace. By now, he's fully accepted Ace's death and will continue his legacy. And right now, it's still there. We have Sabo training with the Flame Fruit and probably avenging his brother against Akainu. Because though I'd like to think Luffy would be the one to avenge Ace, and what we've seen through what Sabo said, he most likely feels very guilty. Luffy, Sabo, and Ace showcase brotherhood the best. And it all started from 3 cups.